welcome back to another very special episode of Card Talk, a podcast where we spend a little bit of time talking about cards from Lord of the Rings card game. I'm your host, Dave Walsh.
And I'm Grant Thompson, not along for the ride.
And I'm Ted Bannock, and I love talking about love.
No. You know what else Ted loves talking about?
Love talking about our patrons.
Yes,
God
yes,
help
he
me,
does.
I do.
Yes.
Thank you very much to our contributing patrons, to Rob, Phil, Dominic, Mike, Lewis, Kyle, Joseph, David, Daniel, Robert, and Sean. Thank you guys very much. We appreciate it.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So, Ted, in his little introduction, talked about a little bit of what we're going to do. So I guess it's a yearly tradition now, right? Once makes it an idiocy, makes it an accident and by a bunch of idiots. And now the second time we do it makes it a tradition. So last February, we put out Sylvan February. And so this February, we're going to highlight famous couples in the game, and not just couples that are in love for Valentine's Day, but just couples that play that are paired off in the game. And we thought we would spend a little time talking today about Arwen Umdomiel and her husband Aragorn. So Grant, I know it's
such
love,
sweet
right?
hearts, right?
Yeah, right.
So, Arwen is a 9-threat, 3 willpower, 1 attack, 2 defense, 3 hit point, Noldor noble from the Dead Realm. With the action, discard a card from your hand to add a resource to a Noldor hero's resource pool, or to Aragorn's resource pool limit once per round.
And just so everybody knows, we're taking the hero version of Arwen, right? I mean, I know that you said hero, but I forgot to mention that when I talked about it. There's an ally version and an objective ally version, but in this case, we're
everything,
yeah,
kind of pairs with each other. But we're gonna take these two and put them in a little love level of the.
We are using all 3 hero versions of Aragorn. However, I'll just be reading off the stat line for Aragorn, which is 12 threat, 2 willpower, 3 attack, 2 defense, and 5 hit points.
And every one of those has a different ability, like you said. So,
yes.
And it sometimes can be hard to choose which Aragorn to use. And we have a show about which Aragorn is better to use, kind of in and of itself. So. But here, I mean, we're specifically talking about like decks that are going to use these two and how they interact with each other. I want to try to make sure that we get the lore of the game, like, can we represent the lore behind the game in the actual gameplay itself? And I think unequivocally, with these two heroes, Arwen and Aragorn, regardless of which Aragorn you're using, I think that these two pair nicely. I think Arwen actually just pairs with just about any Noldor. Like, Arwen is really good regardless. Yeah. So, I mean, this is kind of low-hanging fruit for this, but still, I think it's important to talk a little bit about how the lore reflects in the game. So, anyways, Ted, why don't you give us a little start here, because you have something that I hadn't heard of before. So go ahead.
Sure do.
Right, which is Lore Aragorn. Never heard of that guy before. No, I'm just
never heard of that guy before. So yeah, we're talking about couples in the game and ways to play them. And Hero Arwen was kind of unique because her ability specifically names Aragorn. It says like a Noldor character or Aragorn by name, which is just kind of a unique thing, right? For her to reference like a specific character,
right?
And it's because of their I don't want to say affair in the books, but
right.
Their romance in the books.
Their romance, right? Their love, right?
Right.
Which was actually portrayed. Let me just throw this out here while you're maybe collecting your thoughts, or maybe I'm just interrupting you and being a big old jerk. But I actually don't have a horrible flavor in my mouth of how they represented Arwen in the in the movies either. I think that her, you know, like I think it was acceptable, you know, like that she played a bigger role in the movies than she did in the books, right? So, anyways, that's what I'm going to say. So, Ted, okay, go ahead, continue.
Gotcha. Yeah, I
Right.
don't.
They got rid of Glorfindel and put her in and things like that. And I was okay with that. You know, it wasn't
For Hollywood reasons. Yeah.
right.
Hollywood sucks at times.
But when we're in the game, we can make our own choices. So usually when I play these two, I'm playing Lord Aragorn, who has the threat reduction ability. And that is mainly because I think one of the most powerful combinations you can get with these two heroes is it gives you access to the card Heirs of Arendelle, which is a one-cost spirit event that you must control a unique Noldor and a unique Dunedain. And as an action, you can choose a non-unique location in the staging area, raise your threat by X to discard it, where X is the chosen location's printed quest points. And this also only costs one spirit resource to do. So this card sort of gives you, you know, this pair gives you the most ideal way to play that, because you have Arwen, who's spirit, so you have the requisite characters and the sphere, and because this card raises your threat to effectively discard a location, regardless of how big that is, Lord Aragorn gives you the refresh action to lower your threat to your starting. So even if you're doing this, you know, if you're doing this all 3 times, if you happen to get the 3 copies of it in play, you can manage it very easily. You can just discard the location, not worry about it, and not worry about your threat. So it's amazing.
Yeah, and so I mean, have you used this with a bunch of success, or like what's the fun factor maybe with this, or success factor?
It's really fun because I play it as a multiplayer deck. So usually I don't know what my third hero was. It might have been Landwin or something, some other spirit hero. But it's really effective in a multiplayer game to have some of those, you know, like when you're playing those two together, you have a lot of control over your threat and you have control over resources. And you can not only affect your own heroes and your own threat, but there are ways to help other players do the same thing. So even though, you can use Arwen's ability to give a resource to Aragorn, you can also give it to other Noldor characters. And you can do things to... the other common play with Lord Aragorn is to play the other song that now the name eludes me.
Which song?
It's a song that lets you take threat away from other players.
Song of Elendil? Was that it?
So that is the one. So if you're playing Lord Aragorn, Arwen also gives you access to Spirit to play that card. It's a Spirit card. So with those two, you know, I'm taking away other players' threat from them with that card. I'm getting rid of locations in the staging area, and then I'm handing out resources to other players.
Right.
So
and I guess
even though I'm not doing it,
go ahead, keep going. I was just
even though I'm not doing anything, like I'm gonna take out this giant, 9 hit point troll. I'm doing all these like smaller things that are really enabling the other decks to push forward, or we don't have to worry about that location effect. We don't have to worry about me threading out type of things.
And I think that
I spread their love to the table.
The love. See, that's thematically very awesome. And I mean, I think that the neat thing also is that Arwen is in Sphere for Desperate Alliance. So if you're using Lord Aragorn and you want to pass him around to help reduce threat around the table, you can also do that, right? Desperate Alliance, Grant, is the card that allows you to pass a hero around.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So I mean, that's also really neat there.
And a lot of combos you would probably see with other versions of Aragorn, because they're more tied to Arwen's spirit resource than Aragorn's lore resource.
Yes.
So don't cover it for like 2 other different versions of Aragorn.
Well, what would you do with Arwen? And I mean, do you think that these guys work well together? And what do you do with these two heroes?
I believe that they work well together. There's obviously it's represented quite well with Arwen. I mean, even if you're running Scorpion, which you don't really see many tactics Aragorn and Arwen decks, or at least I haven't seen many. But given that resource and having one resource left for a feint, or just a way to say put an extra attachment out for, say, an Elven Spear on Arwen, or even a Rivendell Blade to start knocking out some enemies with Arwen's one attack with -2 defense could help. But I think it's all, there's no bad choice for which Aragorn you should use.
Yeah, I was just going to comment that using Scorpigorn is probably the least thing, because Arwen is kind of a fragile hero as heroes go. So engaging enemies may not be exactly what you want to do, but like you said, I mean, the extra resource in tactics is always good. There's not a ton of resource acceleration in tactics, so
but Scorpion's second ability allows him, after he's done attacks, he can then engage another enemy. Mm-hmm. So that enemy doesn't gain an attack that round unless it's still there from the previous round. So maybe the way to go about it is you take something, kill it, and then engage something else if you've got the ability there to kill it outright that turn, whether that be with a Rivendell Blade and a Elvish Spear, where you discard so many cards to increase the attack power, and you're getting the -2 defense, plus Aragorn's -2 defense, so there's -4 defense on that enemy, plus the attack boost from both of them if you've got them both ready at that point.
Mm-hmm. And then whatever allies you have on the board, or, the Marksman of Lorien is always good to keep out there for another pseudo attack boost, I guess.
Exactly.
But the Marksman of Lorien is actually kind of expensive 3 cost.
Well, yeah. So maybe it's sneak attack if you've got a leadership hero there,
right.
For a sneak attack marksman for a pseudo defense. Or a pseudo attack boost.
Yeah, the extra resource is, like Grant's saying, it's nothing to sneeze at, even no matter what it is. And tactics has a lot of places to spend it, right? Like a lot of good places.
Attachments and events, they both go a long way with that extra resource. There's a lot of things you can do.
Yeah, actually, the funny thing is that all 3 of us are taking this from a different point of view. This is one of the reasons why I love this game, right? So if you want to build a thematic deck with Arwen and Aragorn together, like Ted, you're talking about how off air right before the show, you were like, "Well, I've only built him with Aragorn, or with Aragorn," and I was like, "Oh, I only built that deck with leadership Aragorn, with Koragorn." And Grant, I think you kind of got stuck with Scorpigorn, but but the point is that I'm trying to make is that this game offers so many different, thematic ways to build that, like, you could be here for a lifetime trying to build just thematic decks. Forget about gameplay, but just thematic decks, and you can do it forever and ever. It's just amazing how it works.
And I think it also comes down to gameplay style. If you're a more tactics-oriented person, you'll probably go Scorpion. If you're more of a controlling the encounter deck, controlling the staging area, you're probably going to go Aragorn. And if you're a jack of all trades, you're probably going to go Aragorn.
Well, and that's what I was going to get to, because we talked about the other two. So, my little contribution here is that when I had a big enough card pool, I wanted to build a 2-hero deck. So I'm like, okay, and now it's a little easier to do it. Especially with some of the contracts that are come out and some of the new cards in the new cycle. But but I'm trying to build a 2-hero deck that is just Arwen and Aragorn, because the game itself builds that synergy there. And I chose Koragorn because I can use, of course, the Elven Light combo, which everybody knows about. So Elven Light is a make sure that I get this right. Elven Light is a 1-cost spirit event that says it can only be played from discard pile, and you return it to your hand to draw a card. So that's always the card that you want to discard to Arwen. There's other ones that work, but that's always like the number one card you want to see because you get the draw. So it works really well. But so I was building a deck that was trying to get all of Aragorn's attachments on him to make him beefy, so he could attack and ready and and engage things and defend and do all those things while protecting his wife. They got married after the
Right.
books, but like his soon-to-be wife, however you want to say it. But like all these things. So and I had a lot of fun trying to build that deck. It was a little harder, and again, that was a little while ago that I tried to build it before we've had the new rash of cards, all the things, as Ted has said. But so there's just so many. So if you're going to build that deck, I think that deck, you almost have to pick the leadership version, because it just gets all his toys on him a lot quicker. So it's like, I mean, it's a take on a Voltron deck. So it's a 2-hero Voltron, thing. So, and I had a lot of fun putting that together. So,
Yeah, you always get the thematic decks. Give me the feel goods.
Yeah, especially when they work. I mean, there's a ton of thematic decks that don't work.
Yeah, there's a few.
But I think that the thematic Aragorn, even if you're not playing the 2-hero version like me, if you're playing a 3-hero Aragorn Arwen deck, I think that no matter, like we've been saying, I think no matter what we're doing, that deck is going to work. Probably. You're probably going to be able to do things.
It'll work if you play Passage Through Mirkwood on easy mode.
Right.
Another card that we're overlooking with, even if we're just running a 2-player Arwen Aragorn deck, is Strider.
A 2-player or 2-hero, right? Okay.
Strider works ideally, because obviously Light of Valinor and Strider, that both means Aragorn and Arwen don't exhaust to commit the quest.
Right. And those are the kinds of things that I was doing in those decks, like just trying to get, and, I would have some allies that would come out and help me out, some of those location control things, and, some of the Northern Tracker, and what's the horse one that allows you to do stuff with the location? Rittermark's Finest, West Road Traveler, one of those.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was doing that sort of stuff, like trying. But I think in the spirit of this month, I think that anybody can put together a pretty cool Arwen Aragorn deck and try it out. Like I don't think you're limited here. So go ahead, Ted.
A couple other just ideas for people and things that kind of play well together are both Blood of Numenor, which is the 0-cost spirit attachment, which allows you to spend a resource to boost your hero's defense by 1 for each resource in your pool. And the tactics attachments, Gondorian Fire, right? So if you're playing Tactics Aragorn, you can run both of those cards because you have Spirit and Tactics. Or if you're playing Lower Aragorn or Leadership, even just using Blood of Numenor works really well, because both Leadership Aragorn and Lower Aragorn are Sentinel, but you can play Blood of Numenor and then on either of them, which boosts their defense. And Arwen is synergistically, giving him the resource to trigger that effect.
And that's what I wanted to add here. And I know that it's, again, pretty easy to see, but Arwen adds the resource to Aragorn for Koragorn and allows him to ready again. And that's why I liked doing that for the two here. Like, he didn't need an extra card. He didn't need an unexpected courage to play it. She can produce the resource and he can ready. So there's a lot of those things that, like you were saying, that just seem so synergistic and so matched up so well with these two cards that it's a really good theme. I didn't mean to interrupt. I mean, I did mean to interrupt, but I didn't mean to, like to just derail your train of thought there.
No, you said it exactly, David. That's a really right. Like, she provides the resources to enable those effects, and some of them just they fit so together. They fit together so very well that
they go together like rama lama lama ding a ding a dong. Dang, dang, dangity, dang, dang. That's the way it should be. Oh, yeah. Hey. Okay. Like Danny Zuko and the girl from Greece, whose name I can't remember. Okay.
And now that song will be with me forever.
Right. Hopefully it doesn't carry over into our next show. Well, I mean, we've talked here for 20 minutes or so. Is there any big considerations that we need to address for our audience, or do you think we gave enough?
Yeah, I recommend we put a disclaimer on the episode.
What, that avoid my singing, or what?
Just for sanity reasons.
Well, that's how it works. We get a little weird every once in a while, so
just a tad, but that's part of our charm.
I think, right?
All right. Yeah, it's just both heroes. No matter which version that you use, it's almost as if by design they work very well together.
Yeah,
and if you just you got to dig into the card pool a little bit, but you can find those real synergistic combos, and they'll pull you through a game.
Yep, I totally agree. So we're not really ringing cards this month for this to be named special event here that we've come up with, but we'll try to figure out what the event name is. But Grant's really good at coming up with event names. No pressure, buddy. But do we want to do something as like a final thumbs up, thumbs down in terms of rating how these two work together and how it reflects the lore in the game, like how those two things work out? Does that make sense?
That does make sense.
Okay, so since I'm the one that created this crazy monster that we're trying, so I'm gonna rate this a thumbs up, because I think that these two heroes, again, whichever version you use, not only they work together in the game, but I think that matches what the lore says about them in the game. So, Grant, what do you think? How does the lore in the game match up in terms of this couple?
I think the lore that Fantasy Flight has worked with for Aragorn and Arwen works really well. They've done what Tolkien, I think, has envisioned for his characters, and I think they put it to a good use in the game.
Okay. So is that a thumbs up, thumbs to the side, or thumbs up, thumbs to the side, or thumbs down?
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up. Okay, Ted?
I also have to give it a thumbs up. So something else that I just something else that I completely blanked out on is so we mostly touched upon the 3-player versions of Aragorn, right? That you'd pair together in a deck, but
yeah, we're not even tackling the three saga versions that also work.
Right? Those also work with her ability that I haven't actually played Arwen through the sagas, but just as a quick reminder, I forgot that two of the 3 heroes spend resources. They have actions to spend resources from one's pool.
Right.
And again, Arwen just enables those effects, so you get more of a thematic win.
She's such an enabler.
That's just what I was thinking.
So 2 thumbs up. So not only regular play, but saga play, huh?
Yeah, it's, I think as we continue to do this event, we'll find some thematic pairs, don't play as good as others, but
Right.
These two, no matter which version of Aragorn you have, like they're always going to play well together.
Right.
And I think that's sweet.
That's important for the whole thing, whether you're talking about it from a lore standpoint or from a gameplay standpoint. So
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
right. So anyways, everybody, this has been another episode of Card Talk, and thank you so much for joining us, and we'll catch you again on the next episode. Have a great day. And if you're interested in finding this or any of our back episodes of Card Talk, feel free to search YouTube, where you can find our flagship video episodes with the username Card Talk 2018. Or you can search the RSS feed, cardtalk2018.libsyn.org, for our extended audio versions of our podcast. Or you can find us on Facebook at Card Talk 2018. And if you have any questions for Grant or myself, or for both of us, feel free to email us at cardtalk2018@gmail.com.